Hi, I'm Scott McBride, and thanks for joining me for this devotional. One of my most memorable recruiting experiences came at the end of high school. I was a pretty serious athlete, and out of all the sports, track and field was where I really excelled. It was my dream to run at my favorite school, the University of Oregon. While I received an invitation to run for Oregon State, the University of Oregon never responded. But I wanted to run there so badly that as an 18-year-old, I got up the guts to go into the assistant track coach's office and ask what it would take to be a walk-on. Now, the coach was less than enthusiastic about my times and potential, and then he told me he wished he could charge me $100 just to apply. Now, I was a little shocked and pretty disappointed, but I decided it was time to hang up my spikes and focus on school. Now, maybe you've had an experience like that, where you weren't recruited, you weren't hired, you weren't chosen, and you definitely weren't promoted. I want to take a minute with you to look at a different kind of recruitment, one that makes a positive and eternal difference in our lives, in the lives of those around us. In our reading, in the book of Acts, we see Barnabas, who was an early leader from the Jerusalem church. He was being sent to Antioch to check in on an unexpected but growing church plant. Now, Barnabas went there to check in on the church, but he stayed with them and encouraged them as they followed Jesus. It was a really exciting time for this growing church, but it wasn't without problems, and they needed Pastor Barnabas. Barnabas had enough self-awareness and understanding of what the church needed that he made a strategic change with them. He reached out to expand their team, and he started recruiting leaders. He was a recruiter and a coach for this church in Antioch. In Acts chapter 11, Luke records one of Barnabas' incredible recruitment trips. He says this: "So Barnabas went to Tarsus to look for Saul, and when he had found him, he brought him to Antioch. For a whole year they met with the church and taught a great many people. And in Antioch, the disciples were first called Christians." See, Barnabas moved into a coaching role. He actively engaged in recruiting what Antioch needed. Barnabas believed in Saul, and he believed in what God was doing in Saul's life. So he got Saul to move and join him and the church there in Antioch. Now today we read this and we think, well, of course, Saul, later renamed Paul, the writer of about half of the New Testament, man, Saul was the man. I mean, what a good catch or smart move. But at this point in his life, Saul was a man with way more failures than success. The idea of choosing a long shot was probably scary and risky for Barnabas personally. But Barnabas believed in Saul and what God was up to, so he helped set Saul up to make a kingdom impact. The church was at a crossroads, and Barnabas realized it. Barnabas realized God's mission required partnership and lots of it. He realized he couldn't do it all. He needed help. The church needed help, so he reached out and recruited reinforcements. And because of his obedience and courage, God blessed their efforts to bring the gospel to even more people. Now, we too are at a crossroads right now. It seems like everything has been so different for us all, but here's a constant. God is still the same. He has not changed. God still desires to partner with us to expand His kingdom. But to do so, we must also partner with others, even if it's scary or risky. As we go into this next season, who do you see around you? Are you seeing the potential in others? Better yet, can you believe those around you have the potential to expand God's kingdom here and now? Is there someone you need to invite to bring in and help partner? See, we believe our church is in a season where we're looking to everyone to step up. We're calling out to anyone who will come and join the mission God has called us for right now. We cannot sit back and expect that the people who do not know God are suddenly going to wake up and decide to come to church today. We need to make sure that we're fully equipped to disciple and equip others. We need to be connectors. We need to show the world they do not have to be alone. See, Jesus recruited us to experience life unimagined, and then He commissioned us to help others experience that new life. My prayer for you is that you will deeply know that you are recruited and chosen by God. I pray the Holy Spirit will give you eyes to see the people around you, people who need to take their next step in following Jesus. I pray that you will hear what God is saying to you and to them, and you will be bold enough to reach out and invite them to take their next step. And I invite you to pray. Pray that God will move on the hearts and minds of countless current and future disciples. This is the time. This is a season. Jesus said this in Luke chapter 10. He said, "The harvest is so great, but the workers are so few. Pray to the Lord who is in charge of the harvest and ask him to send out more workers for his fields." Hey, thanks for joining us in this devotional. To see more of these encouraging words, subscribe to our social media channels. May God bless you.